got a notepad?
Notepad.
I
It's
love
mostly
it.
for me, but sometimes people like to draw dicks and stuff. Draw one.
Draw one?
No, I'm just kidding. That's a lot of pressure.
I know. Now I feel like I'm going to be judged by it, by the artistry
big?
of it.
Right, yeah. It's a tall, wide, thick.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Daniel Weingarten, thanks for coming to the It's Show Business podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. We met through Blaustein?
I guess it was through Michael. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Michael did your show. He did Comedy Bunker.
He did, yeah.
And then he was like, well, hit Latif up and then try to swap spots.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah.
Now I'm in your home.
Now you're in my home. Now you've seen the mess of the home. But you're drinking water.
It's not that messy.
That's pretty messy.
It's not for kids.
On camera, nothing is messy.
On camera here, nothing is messy. No, but for having kids, it's pretty not messy.
Yeah, it's pretty chill. And we were talking about neighborhoods and Studio City is great. And you live in West Hollywood?
I live in West Hollywood.
Now you're in the mix. Young guy, looking sharp.
Trying.
Newly whitened teeth.
Newly whitened teeth. I did do that.
I need to do that. My dentist always like, do you want to do it? I'm like,
I've never done it. Yeah. And then I was like, sure. I said, sure. And then it's surprisingly uncomfortable and painful.
Really?
Yeah, because they stick a thing in your mouth, they keep your mouth open.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's in there for like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So your mouth gets dry and it's just like stuck like this. And then they'll put like this it's called Blue Shield, I think, on your gums because they're like blasting this whitening light.
Oh, it's with light.
Yeah, it's with light. So it's like a light that they blast. Then they'll put a gel on your teeth.
Okay.
And then the light activates the gel, which allows your teeth to whiten. I don't know. I'm not a dentist. I just did it. But essentially, some people are more sensitive than others, and my teeth are apparently very sensitive.
Yeah.
And you do like 3 15-minute rounds. By the end of the second round, I mean, my teeth were. It just feels like shock waves. I guess your nerve endings are sort of exposed.
Right.
So it's like whatever the bone, there's bone decay or something like that. And then anyway.
I always thought it was bleach. Like they're just putting bleach in your mouth and you're like trying not to get it on the rest of your stuff and your clothes and like.
Oh, I think that's kind of
like
what I
old
think
school?
the trays are.
Oh, the trays.
You can still do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the trays are significantly cheaper than the whitening.
Okay.
And the whitening is like you go in for an hour and a half and it's done, and then you're good. Whereas the trays, I think like you gotta do it every night.
You gotta do it yourself.
You gotta do it yourself, and I'm like, I'm gonna mess that up.
Yeah, I have seen people post on Instagram like their whitening, like their mouth is spread out like that. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what it was.
Nice.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. It was good.
It's all part of the thing we all have to manage in this crazy world, which is like the business. And the business of our image.
Right.
It's like, what do you want to portray? What do people see? It
was more so like I went to get my teeth cleaned and then my commercial agents are like, we need new headshots. Yeah. Which, okay. So then I like scheduled new headshots. And then 2 weeks before when I was going to do it, I went to get it cleaned. And then Den's like, you want to do teeth whitening? And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to use these headshots for 2 years.
Of course.
At
2
least.
years, yeah.
It's about 2 years. Every 2 years you end up getting new ones. So I'm like, I might as well, if I'm going to do it, let me do it for these. And then I'll have white teeth.
Absolutely. It's an investment. You got to do your best. Can you do me a small favor and just flip that thing down there just because I just want to make sure. Oh, okay. Yeah. We're looking good.
You're recording.
Oh,
you want me to flip it back so
no,
you
it's
don't
good.
see yourself?
I like seeing myself.
You like seeing yourself?
No.
Okay. Cool.
I did have one recently where I didn't press record. But it's fine. We got the audio.
The amount of times, because I do just a solo podcast.
Yeah.
That, especially in the beginning where like the things would go wrong.
Right.
Either I didn't press record on the video camera or the Zoom. Oh, this is the thing with the Zoom, right? When you stop recording, you then have to press stop to save it.
Oh, you do?
I mean, at least on mine.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's an older one. But anyway, I pressed the record button to stop recording.
Yeah.
And then I just pulled out the memory card, but then it didn't actually write to the memory card.
Oh,
I mean, I've done like things like that, or
man.
I don't check the battery level, and then I'm like halfway through or
Yeah,
3/4
yeah,
through, and
yeah.
it's like low battery. It's like, well, I don't have any AA batteries.
Yeah.
And then I got to do it again. Yeah.
That's a little rough. Yeah, I had something go wrong on the card. Maybe it was that. I've not pressed record. It's always something. You're just doing it by yourself. So you're kind of like an insane person, like running around pressing buttons.
Yeah. Now I've got it down to like, I got it down pretty good.
Yeah.
Down pat. Where
that's great.
It's not too hard. It's easy. It seems like you have a system.
I have it. Yeah. I walked
done.
around, press record, 4 records.
Yeah.
And then frame everyone up, and you're good to go.
Do you edit them yourself?
I do edit it in what's the Premiere?
Premiere, and then you use Audition for the audio.
I just do the audio in Premiere.
Oh, you do the audio in Premiere.
I mean, it's 2 channels. I just put like this little light compression and EQ
okay.
on
You also
it.
have nicer mics than I do. Well, I guess no. Yeah, I just use these Shure mics,
like
but not
stand-up mics, kind of.
stand-up mics.
Yeah.
So then I'll take it into Audition, and then I'll have to do just like a noise reduction to just
Right.
take out whatever sound.
Yeah.
And then I'll just do a hard limiter.
Okay,
That
nice.
just like it's good enough.
Yeah. I used to do the stand-up like Shure SM58 mics, and that was I needed more processing. That's what's nice about these. They kind of already sound pretty good. You could almost just release it.
Right.
If I just do a little sweetening,
Yeah.
little soft filter, Lumetri,
Okay.
and then we're out.
Then you're good to go.
And the 3-cam editing is pretty easy. It's just like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
I used to. Yeah. Once you figure it out and you get the process, it's all very doable.
Yeah, because you have a film background, right? You shot a movie.
I did.
Which I did buy. I bought it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Great.
$10.
Yeah.
Maybe you got
Did
6.
Michael text you for it?
He did.
He did. Yeah.
He's
you
a
know,
good.
did the
I'll
groundwork.
always support you.
I appreciate
It's a big
it.
deal putting out a movie.
Yeah, we shot it back in 2000. Are we in 2018? Dude, my timelines are so messed up. We shot it in 20. Yes, 2000. I feel like time
is just melding.
Time is melding. No, we shot it in 2017. Sorry.
Okay.
We shot it in 2017, and then post production was like through 2018, and then festivals was most of 2019. Then we released it at the end of 2019.
Nice, and it's called
Up There.
Up There.
Yeah, so it's available on iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play.
And you're writer, director, and actor.
And yeah, we produced it. Like
And
it was
producer.
it was like a true indie.
Yeah.
In the sense that like we didn't make it for a lot of money.
Right.
We really had a 3-person crew.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like we had a production sound mixer, and then we had a 2-man camera crew, and we shot for I think it was like 16 days in Michigan.
How do you like relax as an actor when like you're kind of still responsible for the entire everything?
I think the good thing is my character was a little bit more wound up anyway. So I was able to pull from like the neuroses of it all.
Yeah.
But I think it's ultimately just a product of having no other choice but to.
Right.
It's like we're here, we're
doing
going
it.
to like what are,
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, I'm actually shocked at how not tired I look in general, knowing how tired I was.
Right.
Because we were working long days, and then after we're done shooting, we're prepping for the next day, and then like we'd have nights where our night shoots we get done at like 3-4 in the morning, but then I have to go dump all of the footage,
right?
Because we don't have a DIT or anything like that, so I'm sitting there dumping another footage for an hour, so I'm getting to bed at like 5:30, and then like all right, well here's another like 14-hour day on like 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And not only do you have to do the directing and do the producing, but then you have to go in front of the camera and then do that. So,
right.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot.
But you did it, and maybe you'll do it again, but bigger budget.
We'll definitely do it again. I mean, honestly, here's the thing. A lot of it was just like naivete fueled us. Right. So I think we took on more than we realized we were taking on because we hadn't done anything on that scale before. And then we did it and we were done. You look back and you're like, how the fuck did we do it?
Right.
And it doesn't make sense, but you do it because you have to, because we're in the middle of Michigan and we're here and we have to make the movie. We have to cross the finish line. So you just kind of band together to make it happen.
Yeah.
But looking back, it's just about taking, where could we have done a better job? What lessons have we learned? What were the mistakes? How can we avoid those mistakes moving forward? But on top of just the actual making of the movie side of it, then there's like the business side of it and the logistical side of it, the administrative side of it,
marketing,
the marketing, but then also the things that you need to do to be able to release the film into the market and feel like covered, that you're not going to get sued, or that you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's and done all that work, and
the real side of production.
And also, here's the thing: I'd never gone through that process before, so a lot of it was, there's a lot of stuff that I picked up in my research beforehand that that I did correctly up front, and then there were things that fires that I had to put out later on that I just came across. And the funniest part about it is, anytime a fire came up, I would like freak out, right? Because you'd be like, oh, here's another thing. And then with each one, you'd be like, again. But they all got solved. Yeah. Like there's always a solution at the end of the day. This is what I realized. I think as long as you're proceeding with good intentions, as long as you're treating people well along the way, and you're competent enough, and you're not ridiculously irresponsible, you're gonna find a way to solve it. It may cost you a little bit of money, but we had one thing. We had a painting in the background of one scene. Well, it was 3 scenes, but it's an office, and there's a painting in the background. There's a painting I just got at a garage sale. First day of shooting, I was like, oh, let's put it up or whatever.
Uh-oh.
And then we have to get insured.
Yeah.
And I'm like, by the way, I never cleared this art thing. Is that okay? They're like, no, we're not going to insure your movie if you don't clear that piece of art.
Wow.
Right? So, because it's a liability.
Yeah.
Understandably so. So next thing I know, I'm like, I take a screenshot of so I got a garage sale. I don't know who the artist is. I don't know anything. I take a screenshot of the piece of art, right?
Yeah.
And then I reverse Google image search it, and it was from a cartoon or a comic book from Italy from the 1960s, and the copyright holder is like in Milan.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right. So meanwhile, I'm like, okay, so there's 2 paths to this, right? Number 1, I'm able to get a release. That's the first solution. Number 2, I'm not able to get a release, and I need to find a way to replace this. Right. So that's where I have to go ahead and potentially do a digital replacement. So I have to go find some CGI artists, some VFX artists,
draw it out.
Right, to go ahead, and they need to draw it out and then put it back in with an image that we did get cleared.
Yeah.
And the difficult thing about that was, it would be one thing if, let's say, it's over here and nothing's crossing it.
Yeah.
But in those scenes, the character is literally going in and out of it, and he's swinging a tennis racket. Like just like kind of like swinging tennis. So every time the racket would pass through the painting, essentially what they would have to do is they would have to take out the strings on every frame and then digitally re-put them back in.
Oh my God.
To create, I mean.
So I guess that's the path you went?
No. So hold on. So that, I think I got a quote for that. It was like $8,000.
Oh my God.
We made the movie for like 20. So like, put that in perspective. We made the whole thing for 20, and then for like we're literally talking about less than 1 minute of footage.
Right.
Like, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
So I find the copyright holder. I track down like a Facebook page. So I Google Translate into Italian.
You're like a private investigator.
I had to do it. I Google translated into Italian, and then the guy wrote me back in English, and then I was like, well, here's the thing. He's like, yeah, that's cool. We'll sign off. Just give us like a thanks in the credits, or like a courtesy of in the credits.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I sent the release over, and then I would wake up at like 3 a.m. and I'd be like, that's Italy. Like when I got the email, and I'd be like sending emails at 3 a.m.
Grazie.
And then, grazie. Arrivederci. And then and then we ended up getting it cleared, and it was fine.
Oh, it's perfect.
It was perfect. But this is like a month-long thing.
Yeah, and searching and going back
and finding, going back and forth, and then also like getting quotes, and then being like, fuck, I can't afford that. We don't have that money, but I can't release the movie. So it's like,
That's why Hollywood's such a big business. There's all this administrative and like people around the periphery of the art being created to move this stuff forward. Like you'd have a clearance person and this and like, I mean, music and all this stuff, because otherwise you just get bogged down.
And that was the thing too, is that like we had great legal up top that, we were able to get, everything was all the paperwork and the contracts were all in line. We did everything with SAG up top. I mean, like, all that stuff was done correctly. I made sure to bring on a great music supervisor that actually knew what he was doing. So when it came to licensing and clearing all that music, there was no concerns. Like I knew to do all of those things. But also those were things I did on the end. With the film, it was like day 1, I was like, yeah, throw it up, and I had a million other things. It was like this little mistake came back and got me 2.5 years later. And ended up being like the biggest headache.
Right.
But that's also the thing of like when you're doing it with a small team and you don't have the super experienced person to oversee things, that's where those mistakes happen.
Yeah, even big production. Remember Lil Wayne had that sample on one of his albums, and like it was already out, and it was a big thing. And like basically never made any money on the record.
Oh,
like,
really?
Things happen. Like it's even at the biggest scale. It's like you try to do your best.
That's all you can do, and then you just kind of hope that things work out. And like I said, there's always some solution. It may not be the ideal one, but there's always a way to figure it out.
Yeah. It sounds very motivational.
Yeah. I mean, also it helped. I'll tell you one thing. That whole process helped me with my anxiety so much.
Oh yeah.
Because I went like the amount of like anxiety attacks I had throughout that period, and looking back, I'd always be like, but for what? You figured it out.
Yeah.
And in a lot of those moments, you thought there's no way I could figure this out, and yet you did.
Right. I don't know who was an author who said something like, most of what you worry about never ends up happening.
Yes, that's
Tom.
Oh, I don't know the quote, but that's it's a thought pattern. It's called like catastrophizing.
Yeah.
Where you're just like thinking of the worst case scenario, and then you're living in this false reality, and it's not real. So you're essentially like experiencing a reality that may never come, as opposed to just being like, all right, well, if it comes, I'll deal with it, but I'm not going to worry about something that may never come.
Yeah. Because it can be limiting in terms of creating. Like, I'm not going to create this because this might happen, and then what does this person think? Or like, what if this happened? And
you're what ifing. You're doing all these things.
And
you're
then
operating.
You never start anything.
Yeah. Well, you're operating from a place of fear.
Yeah.
And that is crippling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not just like it's a lot of. I mean, so much of it, I think, especially in art, comes from what are people going to think. That to me is probably like the number one fear that people experience that I think can keep them from creating because they're afraid of creating bad things, or they're afraid of creating art that people are going to think is bad. First of all, the best art, there are going to be people that think it's bad.
Yeah, best art is polarizing, right? People love it or hate it.
For sure. And also just like really good art that's like universally good, there's still going to be a percentage of people that hate it. Like it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
It's also realizing that even if you do make the bad stuff, right, which everyone is going to make some bad stuff along the way, you know? Like I mean, when
we all do it.
We all do. We all write bad jokes. We all like we all suck in the beginning. We make but it's all in service to getting to the place that you want to go to. So that's the way that I've tried to like reframe the way that I look at creating is less of like, obviously I'm trying to make something good, but I'm not worrying about whether it's going to be bad or not, because even if it is, the fact that I did it is going to allow me to grow in some way that's going to be in service of eventually making the good things that I'm looking to make, whether that's now or later. I don't know. You never know. You never know.
But it's also like, I think that's why stand-ups are so good at creating content, is because they fail so much doing stand-up,
right?
That it's like, well, I don't care if this one video doesn't do well, or if like I'll just try to do a podcast, or like they really just like anything that's like a DIY stuff they tend to embrace.
Yeah, and also like, what's the worst that could happen? Someone goes ugh and moves on with their day.
Yeah,
nobody is obsessing over your failure.
Right.
Nobody. They're too worried about their own fears and their own failures and their own lives. So it's like we're all just such narcissists.
Totally.
That we think that everyone's thinking about us all the time. It's like they're not.
Even when you do a set, like, do you ever like you see a bunch of friends in the back of the room, you're like, oh, they've heard my jokes a million times, I don't want to do it. Then you do it, and then they're like, oh, I didn't know. Like they'll come up to me, I didn't know you had kids. I'm like, we've been on the same show like 15 times. We hang out, and like you've heard my act. Like that's how not people are caring about you.
Somebody said that, because I have a big fear when I go back to another city about doing any of the same material that I did the last time I was in that city. Right. Which I think is which is understandable, because if people come and pay, I want them to get a new show. Right. Totally makes sense. But first of all, well, I forget where I heard this, but some comic goes, if you pulled an audience member after the show, and you're like, hey man, what was your favorite joke? How many jokes are right after the show they gonna be able to repeat? Yeah. And truly remember. Two maybe in the hour or something like that. I mean, if you're great, probably more. Yeah. You know, but like, so a year later, how much of it are they gonna remember? You know? And not to like fall back on that, but also not to fall back and be like, well, then I guess I can do the same material. 100% not, because then you're not growing, you're not making shit. But it just kind of goes back to that same idea of
they might re-jog themselves. Like,
right.
Sometimes you're like, oh, do I know this person? Then they go into that one bit. You're like, oh, I do. I have heard this one before.
Right.
But they're not going to remember everything. And if it's a good bit, sometimes it's like a good song. Like they won't mind.
Yeah.
As long as it's not verbatim the entire same act.
Exactly. If it's like if you have like a couple jokes sprinkled in that they saw the last year, fine. If you're doing 50 and there's like 7 minutes in there that's from the year before.
Oh,
like,
that's great.
It's great. Yeah. You know, you're giving them a new 33. But
how often do you go back to the same market?
So it depends. I try to go once a year, but then there are markets that I'm doing this year that I haven't done since like the end of 2018.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the movie also consumed a lot of like 2019 for me. But yeah, generally, but like there are ones that I've been to like since 2018. I've done, or 2017. I've done 2017, 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
So it really just depends, and a lot of it is just the product of like where the demand is, where I'm actually getting booked, and all those things. Because the economics of the types of places that I play.
Which are what types of places?
So I'll either play comedy clubs, or what I'll do in certain cities is I'll essentially take just like the rock band approach, where I'll just like rent out a venue straight up and then just sell tickets through like a third party site, like a brown paper tickets type deal.
That's taking more of the risk but more of the reward.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But it also depends on what kind of deal you get.
Yeah.
Right. And like, and how much the venue costs, what your ticket sales, what your ticket prices are, how, what the capacity is. Because ultimately at the end of the day, I always look at it like a door deal.
Yeah.
I'm always paying a percentage of my sales. The question is like, how can I get that percentage as low as possible?
Yeah.
So there are clubs where like, if I can get an 80-20 deal and I don't have to put any money up front, great.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
Thumbs up. Then it's like, okay, well, I'm only going to get like maybe like a 60-40 or like a 50-50 in this city. Well, then let me try to go ahead and find a venue where I can kind of get a bigger percentage of that revenue.
Take charge of the promoting it and making sure.
Exactly. Well, because I'm going to promo anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do that regardless.
Right.
So, it's just, and it's just about it's also just about finding those deals. Like I found theaters or like clubs or coffee shop. Like I think the first time I did Dallas, I did it in a coffee shop, and like they charged me like a couple $100.
Yeah.
But it sat like 120 people, and I did 2 shows.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that's
$10 tickets.
What?
10, 15?
It was $15 tickets at the time. This was like my first time in Dallas.
Yeah.
So it was something like that, and like. It was like $200-$300.
Yeah.
So in the end, maybe it was like a 95-5 deal for that city. But then I'll like route where I think when I did that, I did like Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, or Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, something like that. Or maybe it was all 4. It was all 4. But then I'm buying my flights. I'm buying all the hotels.
Yeah.
I'm bringing a feature. I'm buying his flights.
Right.
I'm paying for him. Right. I got to pay him his, per show fee.
Yeah.
In that case, I got to get a rental car. Then I'm paying all the venues,
food,
all that kind of stuff. So like, I mean,
yeah.
I remember that was the first time that I did that. And when it was all done, I was like, oh, I'm in like $4,000.
Right.
All right. So I got $4,000
of expenses. Right.
And I got 4 shows. I know if I sell tickets, I'm going to easily break it, but like, let's hope. And this was the first time I was doing it.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's hope this works out.
Yeah.
And then you're just doing the Facebook and Instagram ads and targeting your audience.
And this sounds like something you took charge of. You're like, I want to do this. Or did you work it out with your manager or agent?
No, I did that all on my own.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would essentially look at where my top markets were, and then
Through
Facebook.
Through Facebook.
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was my biggest audience. And then based off of those top markets, put a list together of clubs or bars or like or coffee shops, whatever it was. And then I would just reach out and be like, what kind of deal can you guys do? And then I would get whatever my options were. And then I would look at the numbers and be like, okay, capacity, here's this, and this is what the rate is. And like, here's how big my audience is. And I did this city and I had this audience. So like, but then I have to calculate, because let's just say you have, 10,000 people in New York.
Yeah.
Right. That 10,000 people in New York, what's the turnout of that 10,000 going to be versus, let's say, 2,000 in Tucson, right? Where there's less to do. There's less. I mean, New York, there's less competition, right? So New York, there's so many things you can do,
right?
So many options, right? So sure, you have a bigger audience, but what's the draw going to be, percentage wise? Whereas you might get a higher percentage in, let's say, Tucson,
lower actual number of fans,
exactly,
higher conversion,
exactly, and maybe well, let's try to pick like an off night, like a Thursday night, So I'll do the one nighter on a Thursday night because I know I'm gonna have more competition on a Friday or Saturday,
So like,
trying to also predict. It's also analyzing what my value is in the marketplace and trying to schedule and book and work towards that. And a lot of it is I'm just predicting and I'm working off my gut, but I'm asking these questions when I'm trying to
informed decisions. The best guess you can make.
Basically. The best guess I can make. Yeah. And some are better than others. I mean, I've screwed up too. Like I did this venue in Arizona, and I didn't read. I just missed a piece of the contract.
Yeah.
And I thought my expenses for that venue were going to be X. I thought it was going to be $700.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being $1,300 because they had staff and I'm paying their staff, and then they had a ticket taker.
Wow.
And then they're like, "Hey, did you get your insurance for the event?" And I went, "What?" So now I'm getting event insurance.
Right.
For
it's like $100 for the day or something.
Something like that. Yeah. They have whatever. So all of a sudden I'm almost doubling my expenses.
Right.
I'm still profiting, and I'm driving to Phoenix, and I'm going to drive back the next day, so it's fine. But I also, that was a mistake on my end.
Right.
That was a very rookie mistake. Right in the beginning, I was just
well, it's good to make it up front, and it's part of running what seems to be your production company, right? Your production company for comedy, which is maybe the same company as your film company.
Right.
Maybe you have them separate for liability reasons. I don't know.
The film thing is now. Well, what happened was once I did the film and I did that, then I just started another one.
Yeah,
really, what you're supposed to do is when you do a film, you're supposed to
one LLC.
One LLC just for the film. So the money that goes in and the money that goes out, it's all very clean. And it's not getting muddled up with other stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
And so you mentioned your biggest audience is on Facebook.
Yeah.
How is that the case for you? Or that leads into your backstory of how you broke into comedy, which is
right. So I started doing comedy when I was 18.
Yeah.
So I was in college. So I started during a summer break here at the Haha, and then I would go back to Atlanta, and then I would do occasionally mics there. And then I came back to LA when I was 20, and I just worked a slew of jobs for years till I think about 2015. And then in 2015, I was working at a production company, and then I got laid off.
Okay. That's why this little bit of your production knowledge, you're very nuanced.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, a lot of it too is just, I think there's so much information out on the internet, and there's so many people, I mean, especially with podcasts, sure, but then
right,
I mean, I edited the feature as well.
Yeah.
I'd never edited a feature before.
Yeah.
I'd edited it, but I'd never edited
Did you color
a feature.
correct?
I did not color correct.
Okay, cool.
So I outsourced my color correction and then all my sound work.
Yeah. That's reasonable. The cuts because you're already directing.
I already directing, and I knew the footage really well,
right,
and the cost of an editor. I knew that we had X amount of money for post, so I was all right, I can. And also I was I enjoy editing.
Yeah.
I was so let me take a crack. What's the worst thing that can happen? I do a shitty edit and we got to go find another editor.
Right. Because you're making the movie in the edit room anyway, the movie that's in your head.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and I'll say this, I think that a great director can also be a good editor.
Right.
But I also will say a great editor is great.
Yeah.
I think there is this I think that people that are great editors can bring something to the table and a fresh eye and ideas that a director just going to a room on his own or her own, or themselves may not.
Right, and they're too close to it.
And they're too close to it. Yes, yeah, you're definitely too close. I mean, that was a big part of it, but I'm pretty good at looking at it objectively and being is this servicing the story or not? And if not, then let's cut it. So anyway, but I think all of that information is out there, and it's just a matter of doing the work to discover it, process it, learn it, and then be able to apply it to the project. I say honestly, the film was my grad school.
Yeah, I mean, what is film school except for they basically supply you the tools to make a film and the education
and some education. But and luckily enough, we were able to do that. I mean, but for less than a grad school degree.
Oh yeah,
way less than a grad school degree.
Good film school is $100,000 or something.
I mean, yeah, but is it 2 years or 3? I mean, I guess it depends
what
the program
I'm
is.
saying, let's say 50.
It's 6 figures.
Yeah,
nowhere near 6. We're in 6 figures.
Yeah, so and what do you have? You have an asset,
and exactly.
Own.
We have an asset that I own, and that I can go and monetize with, and that was the other part of it too. Was when it came to the distribution side of it, it's a very not weird, but it's a bit of a transitionary phase again when it comes to kind of like indie films. I think like distribution deals are pretty garbage for like low budget indie films these days, unless you're something that really takes off, gets a lot of critical acclaim, and you can get a decent deal. Rarely
garbage. You mean on the splits or what the reach?
Garbage in terms of like ever seeing $1.
Okay.
Rarely do you get do you get any minimum guarantees. So rarely are most films getting any money up front. So they're signing their movie over to a distributor. Yeah. Right. That distributor is gonna pretty much say, all right, we're gonna take 25-30% of the money after we recoup our marketing expenses, which like a lot of people, depending on the contract, you may not put a cap on those marketing expenses. So like, who knows? You literally may never see $1.
Right, and that's for like digital, DVD.
Exactly. That's not even for theatrical.
Right.
That's just for digital.
Yeah.
But so you're essentially paying. You're essentially giving up the ownership for sometimes 7, 10 years, 15 years, depending on the deal, just to to have a distribution deal. But you're never actually making any money, and you're staying in the hole. As opposed to, so then there's another thing, they're called aggregators, which they essentially have deals with these distributors. And you go to them, you pay them a fee, and they will ingest your film and all the assets and deliver them to iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, whatnot.
Right.
And then you live on there, and they don't. I mean, different companies have different models, but
that's all they do.
That's all they do.
Just put it. They make it available.
They make it available, and then you keep 100% of the sales after the split with the platforms.
Yeah.
And the way it works. So, but recently there was a company called Distributor that went bankrupt.
You went with a different company.
I went with a company called Quiver,
okay,
Quiver, I've had a good experience with them.
Yeah.
But but anyway. And those are, you get onto those platforms. These companies also will, pitch to a Netflix or a Hulu where you can get a licensing deal, or you can go through your reps to try to get that. Yeah. That obviously over time, about 5 years ago, Netflix, especially, they were like, we need to build up our library. So they were buying up everything. A bunch, everything, right?
Yeah.
So, but now they're really funneling and transitioning over to really just focusing on their originals. They want to own everything. So they're licensing, they're pickier. So it's harder to get in there.
Yeah.
And then finally there's AVOD, which is advertising video on demand. So there's TVOD, transactional, iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, SVOD, subscription video on demand, which is Netflix, Hulu. And then there's AVOD, which is advertising video on demand. So that's like Tubi, where you don't have to pay anything to watch it, but they have ads throughout the movie, right? So that's kind of...
It's like an online TV business model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, a lot of films are kind of, especially like smaller films, are kind of seeing an ability to make money there. But, now I think, is it Fox just acquired Tubi? So now you're having these bigger corporations that are going to scoop up these companies. And that's on the lower indie level, but like it's happening on the top level too.
Yeah.
Where these different studios are, they're all taking different approaches to the marketplace and reacting to them, and
they're basically They're adjusting to the Netflix world.
They're adjusting to the Netflix world. They,
Quibi, I think is how you say it.
Quibi. Yeah, there's Quibi. But then you have your Disneys that like they are still they make their money in the movie theater. They have event films that make their money in the movie theater.
DVD. Theme parks,
products, toys, all that stuff.
And they're basically like a hedge fund now for premium content. They buy Star Wars, they buy Marvel, and then they're like stewards of those brands, and they kind of grow their value.
Yeah. So I think it's really
Pixar.
I mean, all those. I mean, I think it's really it'll be really interesting to see where things go, because with the lower barrier of entry on the film side, where anybody could, with $2,000 get into the marketplace, it's contributing to the saturation of the market. Right. So now more than ever, you need to create a product with an audience in mind and know how to get to that audience and market to that audience. Right. And I think that applies to like anything.
Yeah,
stand up, music, film, all that stuff. It's like who's the audience and how do we get to them, and like what do they like?
Right.
And how can we, be representative of that, and that's the trap, right? The trap also is like not still staying true to like who you are as an
Right.
artist.
Not chasing the audience of someone else.
Exactly.
Or the path of someone else, too.
Because you're not gonna get it. Because it's gonna be bullshit. They're gonna be like, well, that's not you.
Yeah. If you just chase, this guy's doing this, let's do internet videos. This guy's on TikTok, let's do that. If you're just constantly chasing what someone else is doing.
TikTok's a great example. Because people like love to shit on TikTok, and I get it. I was like, all right, but like there's billions of people on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I think I made a couple videos where I was like trying to do a TikTok, whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing was really happening. Now I'm just gonna fucking post my stand up.
Yeah.
I posted my stand up, took the fuck off.
Yeah.
I think it was something like I got like 180,000 followers in like 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
Or in the last like month or something like that. Like it just blew up. But really just posting my stand up and then podcast clips.
Right.
Podcast clips, stand up. That's me at my core.
Right.
That's me not trying to do a thing.
You're not dancing to a video.
I didn't dance. Look, if you love to dance, good for you. I don't want to shit on people, but like wasn't dancing, but I was like trying to like figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think when you start to try to figure it out too much,
Yeah.
it totally comes through, and it's inauthentic.
Right.
And it's a good reminder of like, just do you.
Yeah.
And have faith that it's enough, and it probably will be. And also, and if it isn't in the beginning, it doesn't mean that it's not good enough. It's just you just got to keep going,
right?
And you got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Which consistency is something that I struggle with.
Consistency is a new viral, because like you might catch a viral moment, but being consistent, it creates the ability for people to find you and find your catalog.
Yes, and also to just be constantly seeing you and going to your page, and you're in the front of their mind,
right?
And you've built up awareness.
Yeah, awareness. They see you're prolific and you're constantly creating, and people are drawn and attached to that.
Yes,
as opposed to being too precious about it. Be like, this one perfect thing I'm gonna build. It's gonna be my perfect album, and people are like, okay,
that's interesting. Yeah. Well, how is that? Because I'm not tapped in, but how has social affected the music industry and sort of the strategies of, because in the sense that like where it's all about like that one song, and then people just, although I will say recently I've been discovering like more and more albums that I feel the ability to listen to all the way through.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know if that's a resurgence or it's just I just happen to be finding them and I wasn't finding them before.
Everything is all the time. People are doing all variations of it. So you find different things. And music's a bit of it's a lot of a winner-take-all market. It's like so many people. It's so much easier to make a song versus a movie in terms of budget, time, etc. So it's very easy. Files are small, like 3 megs. You can upload it very easily.
The Lil Nas X shit blew my mind.
Like, how fast he
blew
blew
up?
Like
how fast, but then also just like the scale with which he blew up, and just where he started. And how the internet took over and decided.
Right. So there's those, like everyone wants that. He's like a guy who went viral, right? And those can still happen. But the more music you put out, this quality, the higher chance you're going to build fans. It's the same thing as stand-up clips. It's like you put up stand-up clips and then you could hold out. And I think we all struggle with this. Do I hold out with this stand-up material and save it for a special or album?
Right.
Or, which is like 18 months from now, let's say, or as I'm going, do I clip, and during that time I'm building audience, and that's 18 months of time you wouldn't have built your audience.
Yeah. And I
think everyone who isn't like a top tier name, and even the top tier names, are like, clipping is the way to go.
Well, clipping's the way to go, and everyone as comics, we fear burning material.
Yeah.
But Gary Goldman has a great line where he goes, are you afraid to do 5 minutes of late night and burn the 5 minutes? Then you'll write a new 5 minutes. But if you don't burn it, you're not going to write it.
Yeah.
Because you won't need to replace it.
Exactly.
So like, I think it's also like a good motivator.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like when you have a joke that's like your closer, and you're like, I'll never have a joke this good again, and then you move that joke early in your act, and you have another closer, and it's just part of it.
And then eventually the act gets good.
Right.
It's like all of these jokes were at one point closers.
Yeah.
And the best closer is now the closer, and I mean that's the goal. But like, but yeah, I think preciousness, and I think that comes from, I think it depends, but like for me, it comes from like wanting to create art.
Yeah.
You know. and wanting, you know, everything that I put out to be this chiseled stone. But
well, we grew up in the phase of Empire, like where like everyone was like a polished movie star, and like movies were in the theater, and we bought these perfectly formed things.
Yeah.
And then we lived through the resurgence of internet, where it's like fast, do it now, like just be yourself.
But also, as quickly as people find it, people forget it.
Yeah.
So like, I think the good thing can take you, but going back to the bad thing, people are probably going to forget it as long as you then come, because once you come with a good thing,
right,
they'll be like, oh, it's the good thing.
Yeah.
Some people might be like, damn, look at that bad thing they made.
Yeah.
But if anything, I'd be like, yeah, but that's the proof that like just because you made the good thing doesn't mean, or just because you made a bad thing doesn't mean you're incapable of making the good thing later on.
Right. And that's the benefit of constantly creating, because if the quote unquote bad thing gets forgotten, and now if you're so precious and you do release it and it is bad, I mean, then you're really stuck.
Right.
So another 18 months before you come back, and now you're just remembered during that time as the guy who created the one bad thing.
Right.
Remember, like, one bad album could sink a career. Like, that person's done.
I mean, remember, when Mulaney came out with his sitcom.
Oh yeah.
You know, but like, I respect the fuck out of him, because like, I think somebody could have taken what happened with that, and he went, all right, well, I'm gonna go back to my stand up. I'm gonna put out this fucking fire special, and then I'm gonna do the show that he did with Nick Kroll. You know, and like, I'm gonna keep going.
Right.
And nobody's thinking about that.
I mean,
I'm mentioning it, but
I
like,
never saw it. I never even.
And I'm from my memory, I think it didn't go great.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if it was really that bad. I don't remember. You know,
he had a great thing. I think it was on Comedians in Cars when he's talking to Jerry about it. He's like, you spend all this time, you're making this perfect thing, you put it out in the world, and they just go, no.
But he kept going.
Yeah.
And nobody, here's the thing, nobody is going, I mean, Mulaney's funny, but you know, his sitcom, it's like, no, they're like, no, he's great, because he is. And like, and everybody makes those things. Makes the things that aren't great or aren't well received.
Or timing. Remember, like Seinfeld, when it came out, they almost canceled it. It had like the lowest ratings.
And then they kept it on.
And they're just like, oh, let's keep it on, see what happens. And they basically, I mean, this is very paraphrased, loosely, probably semi-accurate facts, but they're like, yeah, just keep it doing. They weren't really paying attention to them. They let them do their own thing, and then it blew up.
Yeah. Nobody gives things a chance anymore.
Right.
That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Well, because they're all beholden to like they're all big corporations beholden to ad buys and ratings and whatnot, and like no one's getting the ratings that they did back in the days because people were, you know, flocking, you know, elsewhere.
Yeah.
But they just don't. That's the advantage that the streamers have is that they can just like, all right, we're gonna put it all out.
They're not accountable to anybody too. It's like if you have your own audience and they like fuck with you, then you can do what you want.
Netflix is really just the biggest Patreon. That's all Netflix really is.
The biggest Patreon, yeah. But they're a hybrid of new media and old media, because they're unlimited content all the time in the streaming digital world. But they're also now the new media stamp, like I'm on Warner Brothers, like I'm on Netflix, like it's still now they're in a way like they're the top of the pyramid of the business. Like irrespective of what it does for you monetarily or views wise, having the Netflix stamp is like a legit source of legitimacy.
Right. It's like the same way it gives it a legitimacy, but also I look at the same thing at podcasts, and I go like, there are podcasts like when we were younger, and like Pastor Nurse was like, I want to be on a late night talk show. You know what I mean? I want to sit on that couch.
Now it's Rogan. I want to be on Rogan.
Yeah. Or like, and there are other podcasts that I listen to, and I go like, oh man, I hope I get famous enough so I could be a guest on that podcast, or successful enough so I could, you know, like that would be cool. It's a total revolution where artists are in control and taking control of their art. It's I guess on the music side of things, that would be like the independent artist and the independent musician.
Yeah, like Chance the Rapper.
Macklemore did it too, right?
Yeah, Macklemore.
Yeah. And now you're seeing comics do it.
Yeah.
And now they're not beholden to anyone.
Right.
I have to think how much less comics go, man, I really want a TV show.
Yeah.
From 5 years ago even. 5 years ago,
yeah, It's just one other thing. Like, I'm gonna do stand up if I have the ability and I want it. I'm gonna pitch a TV show. I'm gonna do a podcast. I'm gonna tour. Like, you're just gonna keep doing like, I'm gonna tweet. I'm gonna Instagram.
What's the TV show gonna do in service of the audience that you're building to go out and do stand up? Right.
I think it services it in a way that we don't recognize in like New York and LA. It's like it's an awareness and a credit that like is available for you to do other markets.
For sure.
Like if you are America's Got Talent, or if you're on
as a stand-up. I'm talking about like having like a sitcom. Because having a sitcom now, I mean, great. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, you're going to make great money, and if it's a hit, audiences are going to find it, and but I guess the effect that a sitcom had, being on a sitcom back in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah. It's not 80s and 90s level, but if you got a sitcom today, it would definitely boost all of you across the board.
100%.
Everything what you do.
100%. Yeah. But if I got a show on Netflix, even more so.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Even more so.
Yeah.
Because that's where the eyeballs are.
Well, we can all watch it. Like we could like listen to, and that's the thing. It's all, nothing's real time. So they could listen to your pod today. Yeah. Be like, this guy's cool. I'm gonna go watch his Netflix show. He talked about that, and like do like a hyper consumption, because like people can't get enough.
Right.
They want, and then they'll be like, oh, and then he's coming to my city, and I'm gonna see him live, and it's like this whole thing. And it's like a deep dive. You have these like one way. You have friends that are, you're their friend, but they're not your friend.
Correct. Yeah, and then they feel like they really know you. It is a crazy sort of kind of like psychological, because the depth, people are no longer like sort of these like mythical figures.
Right.
It used to be like movie stars are like, who are they? Are they real? Are they from another planet?
Right.
Now I feel like that mythos and that veil has been shattered. Yeah. And it's like, all right, they're people. And it's like, I can listen to them every week and find out what's going on in their life.
Some of them are people. Some of them are still like not, I don't think like Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, they're not on Instagram. They're not.
No, they're not.
They're playing the old game.
But like Will Smith is going all in on the new game.
Yeah.
He's doing it all.
I love it when he was on stage with his son, and his son brings him on stage.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
When his son like Coachella? Oh, yeah.
He's like, yeah, this is my dad.
Dude, how cool. I mean, that's crazy. That's just like, I mean, what a different, like, this is my dad. He's an internist. Hey.
Yeah. What was the breakthrough moment for you? Because you had some big stuff happen earlier in your career on Facebook and on YouTube, was it?
Yeah, it was mostly on Facebook, honestly. What I started doing was, well, first I went to the Ice House and I recorded a set, and then I clipped that set. Yeah. And then
What year is this?
This is 2016.
Okay.
2016, yeah. And then I clipped that set, and then what I would do is, because like, so, I talk about a bunch of things, but I talk a lot about being, Latino, my dad being Mexican, Argentine, all that. And that was like the bit. And I was like, okay, I'm going to message every Facebook page that reposts, content that's Latino content. Every page, memes, all that kind of stuff. These like aggregator pages, right? So I would just like message them and be like, hey, I'm a comedian. Here's my video. I'm blah, 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 blah. I would like do like a quick little pitch. Yeah. And I sent, I don't know, 100, 150, I don't know how many, a bunch of messages. And like one responded, and the page was Hispanics Be Like. That was the name of the page. Okay. And they had like, I don't know, 500,000, followers on Facebook. He's like, yeah, I'll repost it. Or he didn't say I'll repost it. He said, I'll upload it directly and I'll tag you in it. I went, great. Okay. So he did that, and all of a sudden I got like, 15,000, followers or whatever. And then I had a sketch that I had actually made like months before that went nowhere. It was like a 5-minute sketch. It was too long. And I cut down like a minute of it. Mm-hmm. That was its own little thing. Memed it, did the same thing, sent it off. They reposted it, and then another page reposted it, and this other page had like 7 million followers on Facebook. Okay. Or no, I don't know. A lot. Yeah. The video ended up getting like 7 or 8 million views. Okay. On there. So all of a sudden, I just like popped up to like $50,000, not dollars. $50,000. I wish it was $50,000. Yeah. No, just like 50,000 followers, and then I just kept making content, and then I just built off of that 50, and it continued to grow. And then I essentially got to the point where I was like, oh, okay, there's like people following me, and I know where they live. Yeah. So then that went back to like, well, let me go to their cities. But what was also important to me was I hadn't headlined before, so I'd been featuring, but I hadn't headlined. And I didn't want to do clubs because I didn't feel like I didn't want to do big clubs. I didn't want to overextend, you know, how many people came and saw me, because I was like, I still am kind of figuring out how to headline.
Right.
And I want to make sure that I put on a good show for people because I want them to come back. So, you know, I think the first time I went to Houston, so Dallas was the coffee shop. So the first time I went to Houston, though, I did it was like a 45 seat little room, you know.
How much time are you doing?
How much time? I'm doing like 45.
45.
Yeah. So it was like a 45 seat room. So there's no manager of an improv. There's none of that. You know what I mean?
Right. The stakes are different. The stakes are like business stakes, but not like comedy evaluation stakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that kind of went back to like the self-awareness and not allowing ego to get in the way of being like,
right.
well, I can fucking sell it. I'm gonna do it. And it's like, maybe you can sell tickets, but can you put on a good show? Right. And that's about also just like establishing a trust. A relationship built on trust between you and the audience, because I respect and appreciate the fact that they, you know, got a babysitter, that they came out and they spent money on a ticket, and they probably are getting dinner before it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
it's a big night out.
It's a big night out. But when it all said and done, you spent at least $100, right? So I try to bring that respect to the show, whether it's, you know, however many people it is, it doesn't matter. And that sort of philosophy has sort of informed the decisions I made in the beginning and the decisions I made since. But along the way, honestly, like I have gone and I just had, you know, I made the movie, and that was great, and that was a big learning experience. And, you know, inherently, I think like some of like other stuff suffers as a result of that, because you're all in there. Yeah. So it's been a real journey of trying to really figure out what it is I want to do. What that looks like, the type of stuff I want to make. Yeah. And that is really now informed by just like the type of stuff I enjoy making, because I think that's going back to consistency. It's really easy to be consistent when the stuff that you're making are the things that you enjoy making.
Right, because it makes you want to create them.
Makes you want to create them. Yeah. You're less susceptible to worrying about like how the video does. Yeah. You know, in terms of like in terms of views, engagement, all that kind of stuff. It's like, I like this, so I'm putting it out, and then I'm moving on. I'm gonna go make some more stuff, and I'm gonna put it out, and blah blah blah. Yeah. And continue to do that. And just and working towards it. But then on top of it all, just like focusing on just trying to become better. Yes. And always evaluating, being like, okay, like honestly, dude, open mics are very hard for me.
Why?
I have a really tough time at open mics. I joke with Michael, it's like I'm back in high school.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it feels like.
It feels, but like for me, it's like I feel like everyone's judging me. Yeah. You know? And so I feel like I get like, and then that energy comes, and then it's on stage, and I'm not the same comic I am anywhere else. Right. I don't have, I have a much lower level of confidence. All of a sudden I'm like, and that energy, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, I don't know. Am I funny? Am I?
Yeah, you start, that's part of it.
Doesn't matter what validation you gotten before. No. So, but that's something I'm working on. I go like, well, I don't think I'm too good to do open mics. I don't think anyone is. Yeah. But part of it too is like, okay, I need to, why do I feel that way? I normally feel that way because I'm going there to work on new material. I'm not worried about crushing at an open mic. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm always trying to do new material. So it might not work. But honestly, if I'm once again reflecting, being honest, I think sometimes I don't do enough work beforehand. Right. Yeah. Before the open mic.
I think we all get caught in that trap. It's like, you think you're gonna you think the work is completed by signing up and going to the mic.
Right. And it's
but
like,
if you prepare before, as you would a show, what you're trying to accomplish, all your new bits, it is more worth your time, because you're spending money, which is time and all that stuff, to go to the mic, wait through all the other comics, do your stuff, and sometimes you're like, what did I just do?
You're like, and you record it, and you're like, am I gonna listen to it? Yeah. Maybe. No, I hate.
Or
myself.
Like the trap of like, oh, these are my ideas, and it'll just open up, and I'll get 4 new minutes, and you're like, okay, no.
Yeah, I know. And
but it's still like, if I don't have a show, I'm doing a mic for sure, because like going up every day, it's for me, it has value. Like
Yeah, but I think it's like I'm gonna do a mic today. All right. Yeah. What am I working on? Right. I think I don't know why stand-up comedy does this, but it's like you got to have structure and discipline. Yeah. And you have to have a plan. So it's like, If the goal is I want to put on a really good 50-minute show, all right, well then I need 50 minutes of material.
Right, 5-10-minute chunks.
Yeah, exactly. So like, what do I have? Great. I'll write down and be like, all right, these jokes are done.
Yeah.
How much time is this?
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Okay, now, what am I working on now? These are the 10 premises, let's just say. So today, let's focus on this premise. And let's write that. And let's go to the mic and do that joke that you wrote and that you have in your head.
Yeah.
How did that work? What did, what didn't? And then like apply that same level of diligence that you would to anything else.
Right. Have a goal. Like Matty Chimber just did an hour at the Comedy Bunker.
Yeah.
And he said knowing that he had to do an hour, made him go to the mics with like this very specific intention of like, this is what I need to do, and like writing it out more. And sometimes like we need that like goal. That's what school teaches us. Like, hey, March 1st, your shit's due.
Yeah.
Do it. And stand-up can be like kind of like, okay, well, what is the goal if you don't make one yourself?
Right.
So try to be like, hey, my goal is to do exactly what you said. Like outline it, do these things, and have this many minutes and these completed bits.
Because also the tough thing too, sure, if you have a manager that wants to tape, you're accountable to the manager and you got to be on tape or whatever. But like, you're really just accountable to yourself in stand-up.
100%.
So it's the same thing with like working out.
Yeah.
Or with like diet. You're really just accountable
Self-discipline
to yourself. Self-discipline is key. But that's something I started doing when it came to my writing, even because I'm also sort of just accountable to myself when it comes to my writing.
Yeah.
But yesterday, for example, I sent an email to my managers and I said, hey, here's what I'm working on. Here's what I'm going to get it to you by.
Yeah.
So I set deadlines for each of those things.
Yeah.
So
I love your manager, by the way. He's a great dude.
Great dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love Zach. And so now I know, well, I told him I was going to get it to them by then. And I don't want to be the guy who says he's going to do something and not do it.
Right.
I know that I know that I hate that.
Yeah.
So I can maybe like flail a little bit on myself, but I hate not doing the thing that I said I was going to do.
Right.
So that's going to fucking
be
force
a man
me.
Of your word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a pusher, something to push me, but I'll just put that on myself.
Yeah.
And it just goes back to like knowing yourself and like what's going to work. Cause not everything, sometimes you hear stuff and you're like, oh, nice for you, dude. That's not going to work.
That's
for
not
me.
that's not how my brain self-motivates. Yeah.
So therapy's been great for that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Go to therapy.
Oh, yeah. Love to. Well, are you going to do a mic tonight?
I'm going to do a mic tonight.
I'll do a mic too.
Okay, great.
Let's do some mics tonight.
I'm going to do a mic at 5? I don't know. We'll sign up. I feel like once you hit 12, although people have to cancel before 1. So that's the best time to like scoop in.
Totally. Well, dude, this was great. I feel like we could talk about the biz for like another hour or so.
This was so much fun.
I'm trying to cap them at an hour, but this is awesome.
It's great.
I love what you do. Your set at the Comedy Bunker was killer. People are still talking about it. So hopefully you got some clips out of it.
I did. Yeah. I used it as a tape. I did the first 5.
Oh, you submitted it?
I submitted the first 5. Well, I sent it to my manager, so I don't know. But I did the first 5. I was like, that felt good.
Yeah,
I was happy of how that feels. So I did get that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's great.
Yeah. I tried to blend, like I took the mic audio from the mic and then a couple cameras for the audience. So it felt like pretty good. But if you want everything separate too,
it sounded great. Don't worry about it.
All right, cool.
It was awesome. But thanks for having me, man.
And how do people find you?
Oh, I'm at DW Comedy on all the things.
Follow him, buy his movie, listen to his pod, and if you're really a diehard fan, you'll be at the open mic tonight at 5 to watch him, which is impossible because this will not be out in time.
Yeah. So in the past.
If you're a time traveling warlord, see him tonight at the Burt's. All right.
Man.
Thanks.